Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Robert. Channel is Destination X. Today I'm just going to be doing a quick overview of this simple DIY Molle panel I put over here in the window. So it's not the prettiest thing in the world, so if you're a overlander you might not like this, but basically I made this DIY Molle panel just to hang up some extra gear in my driver's side rear window. It's made out of 1/4-inch starboard marine plastic. So this stuff is actually pretty expensive. So for doing this on a budget, I don't necessarily recommend using this stuff, but a buddy of mine was able to get it to me for free, so I started using that. I originally planned to use like 1/8 inch or 3/16 aluminum. I was going to do that and cut it to size, but then when my buddy offered this stuff up and said that it was like just as strong and, you know, obviously a lot easier than aluminum to cut and cost me even less, I went with that. A lot of other YouTube videos out there of guys doing DIY projects similar to this for many different vehicles. There weren't any for Xterra, so clearly I did that one. A lot of guys use like fencing trellis as like a way of doing a budget DIY. Obviously there's a lot of people that do aluminum or steel and they get actually like professionally plasma cut it and everything, which obviously works, but if you're wanting to do it on a budget, that's not really budget friendly. Maybe depending where you're on, you can find that stuff cheaper, but around where I live, getting stuff professionally fabricated and cut out like that, plasma cutted, is, yeah, it's not really gonna save you money. There are options out there to buy your own, but I like kind of doing everything as much as possible on a budget, so that's why I made this one online for my vehicle, specific for the Nissan Xterra. It's about 200 bucks, just base steel without it being powder coated or anything, and not including shipping. So 200 bucks to order one. This cost me next to nothing. All I had to pay for was the little self tappers and the like L bracket here to mount it. So mounting it, as you can see, I just did 2 self tappers in the bottom here off a little L bracket. On the back there I just have a locking nut going through this bolt, and up top I use this standard hook that just comes in all the Xterras. I also have this little shelf up top hooked onto that with a carabiner, but then I just have the Molle panel hanging off there as well, and it's really strong, really supportive, no issues at all. Not going to be hanging a crazy amount of weight off this, but even what I am going to be hanging, it's going to be great. So right now I don't really have much mounted. I've really procrastinated this whole thing forever. Right now I just got a few extra carabiners, a little fold out saw, and I'll probably put like a hatchet up here or something. It's fun doing this as like a DIY project because you can also like decide the size of squares on your own, and the what's the word I'm looking for, like just the overall like outline grid shape of what you want to do. So I went with, like over here, well, on all the sides I did these little slots, and then the corners I did different shaped ones in case maybe I want to do like one big mount cross like that, or like I was saying, the slots along the side, these are easy to hook into. I can put a carabiner in there if I want to hang something or some other type of hook. And then there's a couple others, can't really see as much because the saw's on there, but these ones are like double as long. Honestly, that happened by mistake, because when cutting these, I accidentally cut one of these a little too much, so we just made it into like a double. There. So if I want to do something with a bigger band or belt right there, it's easy to do. It's honestly the best thing about doing anything DIY is that you can kind of make everything your own, obviously. I'll show in the rest of the video what I used as like a kind of basic template of what I was thinking about when I started this. So yeah, based on looks, it's not the prettiest thing. Like you can see this plastic, even though I did grind it down and try to sand it down as much as possible, it's still, you know, they're not at all pretty cuts. But function, or what is the word I'm looking for? I don't even know. Function over whatever, you know, it works. doesn't look the prettiest, but basically I did a little walkthrough of all the steps I did to measure this, because the Xterra does have like a unique window shape. To measure this, cut it, mount it, everything. If you are interested, continue watching. If not, you can still continue watching. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. YouTube. Hello, and thank you for sticking it out in this video if you've made it this far. So to begin the Molle panel, I initially just took a tape measure and tried to measure the rear window as much as possible. These are kind of a unique shape, so it's awkward doing that, and I'm also not a professional at this, but I just want to get a basic outline of like a starting point, and then I would kind of cut down from there. Next, I kind of realized that that black rim around the window was kind of a good size to go for, so I made this quick little template out of some old Amazon packaging, and I realized this is the shape and the size I want to go with. So from there, I had this massive piece of starboard to start out with. I did not trace out my little Amazon packaging just quite yet. I just was making this smaller and making a smaller rectangle square shape to start from. I initially started using an edge grinder, but quickly realized it was kind of more just melting the starboard plastic, not doing like as good of a cut. I wanted to use an edge grinder so I could kind of control it better. But it was melting it, not doing a great cut, and also just making a complete mess and shooting this dust everywhere. So naturally, the next step was just to slice it up with the table saw. Next up was just tracing my beautiful stencil that I made. Voila. And next I began cutting out the actual main shape of the Molle panel. I did this by using a small little Dremel with a circular blade on the end. This did in the end work out great, not as great as I expected, but due to the depth of the starboard being 1/4 inch thick, the blade at times had issues kind of getting all the way through. But in the end, it did work out. From here, I knew from the start that I wanted to utilize this stock little hook in the back of my Xterra. As you can see, I already have a shelf hanging on there, but I wanted to use this for the Molle panel as well, as that's what I've seen other similar vehicles, as well as ones that you can buy for an Xterra, they use this. So right here, I'm just basically marking a kind of basic point where I'm going to be chopping a hole to hook it onto. Like I said at the start of the video, one real cool thing that I enjoy most about doing like a DIY Molle panel is that you kind of get to decide on your own template that you want to do and your own grid setup. I'll show right now. I found this online and this is kind of what I was basing mine off of. It's hard to see, but it's about 1.5 inches by 1 inch squares and then about half an inch spacing in between them. I skipped a part coming up here, but once I had all the lines drawn, I just basically went over them again with an X-Acto knife and traced them right onto the starboard. Next, I began cutting out all the little sections using a Dremel once again. This worked great for the kind of side pieces, but I realized quickly that once I got more to the middle, it was difficult to get the Dremel all the way through because I kept hitting the plastic.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, where'd that go?
Wow!
Beautiful!
First time.